I need some sort of, as soon as I go live, I do a little shtick, but I got nothing. I'm more of I'm an ad lib type of guy, Maybe it goes back to my days from growing up where I grew up. We grew up, you guys won't believe this, we grew up battle rapping. I'm like 8 years old and we had to do battle. So that then put me on this path of being able to ad lib. I think that's why I like live streaming. So anyway, hope everyone's doing well. It's already midweek, guys. Life is flying by. The week, most people are like, oh, the week's flying by. Bitch, life is flying by. It's insane how we're just spinning like this. Life, momentum is just, anyway. So I just uploaded Liam Paro versus David Papot. That fight goes down tomorrow night in Australia. That headlines a Thursday night boxing card here in Australia. We got Oscar Colazzo fighting this weekend. We also got Gabby Fundora. We'll get to all that stuff. We got Dana White Contender Series today. Guys, join the Discord. The link is pinned in the comment section below. If you're catching this live, you see all the boys commenting with the blue stars. Those are Johnny Says Boxing Insiders. It's a couple bucks a month. You also get access to the Discord. In the Discord, there's not a lot of work, a lot of action this weekend, but I've given you my upset of the week for the Dana White Contender Series. I gave you my insider info. What the Discord allows me to do is kind of share voicemails from my sources throughout the fight game. So one of my guys, he'll remain anonymous. He's a MMA journalist in Washington, D.C. So he's the guy I kind of lean on with sort of insider information, especially with this regional stuff. So in the Discord, I tagged all you boys in it, and I shared the voice memo. He gave you the underdog on the card today, and he's at plus money. So that's the play I'm going to go with. I'll also give you guys we'll pick the winners, So we'll see how that goes. This No Limit Australian card is a mess, guys. It's a mess. It's filled with pullouts and last-second replacements. It's one of these cards where it's like, Jesus. I might just go heavy on one fight. I'll give you my long parlay, but like always, put like 10 bucks on it, 25 bucks, nothing too heavy. I might put a couple hundred on a dog. I'll let you guys know. I'm super transparent with all my picks. So in the Discord, I'll let you guys know. Guys, put a thumbs up. Let's get in the habit. It just helps the algorithm. If all you could do is subscribe to YouTube, support the live streams, and give a thumbs up when you tap in, that's fine. That helps me out too. So as you guys are tapping in, it's 3 minutes in. I'll let it simmer a little bit. Go to my playlist section, Fight Predictions, where you see my Stats Don't Lie videos, the ones that are edited and produced, and I break down the fights. I uploaded yesterday Liam Paro versus David Papot. I did my film study on both guys. I gave you guys my logical reasoning and my pick. So that's up on the channel. I'm going to do the Liam Wilson versus Jorge Santana fight. I've already done film study. I've already done my edits on Jorge Santana and Liam Wilson. I already know who I'm going to pick. But Brock Jarvis is pulled out. He had to have emergency shoulder surgery. It's like, what are you talking about? These guys, the No Limit, and no offense to the Rose brothers. The Rose brothers are the rugby boys. They're from a town, they're from near Wellington, New South Wales. So one of my good buddies is from Wello. It's a traditional Aboriginal community. And so, like, I'm not going to shade the Rose brothers, but I mean, some of the decision-making, some of their business decisions on how they've chosen to operate No Limit, how they've chosen to market certain fighters or just not market other fighters, just very questionable. And guys, just because you question something, someone, an organization, anything, doesn't mean you're hating on them. I don't know what's happened to our world to where we can't even question something without people saying you're a hater. So the only way to get better or grow in anything in life is to have people around us who challenge or question whatever that is. So anyway, I'm a critic of No Limit Boxing, especially how they go about their business. But once again, on the other end, you got to be kind of fortunate that there is a promotional company within Australia who has been able to market fighters and put them on an international scene, especially in the last 5 years. So I'll leave it at that. But The press conference was a shit show. For them to say at the press conference Brock Jarvis had to have immediate emergency shoulder surgery, what the hell are we talking about? You have emergency surgery if it's life-threatening. You have emergency surgery if you got into a horrific crash. You have emergency surgery if, something needs immediate emergency help. You don't have emergency shoulder surgery. These are just the words they use. It's like, bro, you knew he was injured. What are you talking about? Did you put him on the flyer to market the event? Like, there's so many questions. But anyway, Brock Jarvis is out. Ken Aiken is still on the card. Sportsbet in Australia hasn't updated anything because you still see Brock Jarvis on there. Shavkat Abdullayev is off the card. He was supposed to fight Paulo Cuso. Abdullayev has had visa issues. He wasn't... Guys, if you've never traveled to Australia, it is tough to get in, even just on a travel visa. So, if you're coming internationally, even as a fighter, and you have a felony, if you have any sort of warrants, if you have anything on that's going to show up on your migration papers when you're going through immigration to get into Australia, they're not going to let you in. They're very, very strict on that stuff. So that's all I got on that. But I know Akuso's still on the card. He has a last second replacement. And then, yeah. So I'm putting together a little bit of a parlay. And I'm still waiting to hear back about Jacob Ng's camp. Jacob Ng is a heavy favorite. He's taken on Ricky Naito. Ng is $1.22. He's from Queensland. He's a fan favorite. They call him the Flamingo. I don't know, mate. He's marketable, but we haven't seen him since Billy Dibb. And Ricky Naito, he's a domestic guy. I'm not going to I'm 50-50 in saying Ng's going to lose, but there is a 50-50 chance there. And then it's just going to come down to decision. I really like Liam Paro by decision, by the way. And then Liam Wilson against Jorge Santana. I always talk about Liam Wilson. When Liam Wilson fights on the domestic scene, he could crack. Liam Wilson, when he's fighting within Australia, tends to fight a bit differently. Now, we didn't see that too much. I thought he fought a really tough Argentinian fighter in his last fight that a lot of folks were kind of just sleeping on. But he was way better than a lot of people gave him credit, and Wilson won a close decision. But this kid he's fighting, Jorge Santana, does not have the feet of his last opponent, does not have the craftiness of his last opponent, and I think Liam Wilson will look better here. So it's just going to come down to, will I take Liam Wilson by decision or by stoppage? I'll let you guys know probably by tonight. But 8 minutes in, guys. 17 of you boys in here. 19 in. Hit the thumbs up. I'm going live with Gary. So I'm going live with Gary from 3D in about 3 hours. So he put it up on his channel. I'm going to share it on my Instagram. I'll share the link in the Discord. We're going to be doing a mutual live stream in about 3 hours. He's going to pick my brain on the Australian card. We kind of... we're trying to make this more often. So if you're not following Gary at 3D Boxing, go do it now. He's a beast. Texas boy. I think in New York or New Jersey, lives in Texas, loves Texas boxing. So he's kind of my guy I turn to when it comes to, some of the lesser known American fighters. He's a bit of a wizard, and he kind of picks my brain when it comes to the domestic Aussie card. So there is money to be made. Are you guys getting Gabby Fundora odds? Because on my book, Gabby Fundora is fighting, but there's no box rec. So go to Gabby Fundora's box rec. There's no event. But we got the only two events I got on my book that's correlating with my book and box rec is obviously the Australian card and then Oscar Colasso. That fight's taking place, I think, at 105. It's a minimum weight title fight. If you've never seen Oscar Colasso fight, man, I don't blame him. He's tiny. He's a minimum weight, but that dude, 12-0, undefeated. It's a world title fight, WBO. So it's going to be... is it a Golden Boy card? Yeah, it's a Golden Boy card. So the Golden Boy card's always... And it's on DAZN. So there's going to be money to be made there. So 10 minutes in, I'm going to see who's checking in. Oh, the boys are popping. I'm going to answer the Johnny Says VIPs. I'm going to prioritize the VIPs with the stars. King Fitness, the GOAT listening while at work. The big fella, Adu, morning boys. Johnny, Aussie card, any tips? Yep, we'll get to that. I'm doing my hellos first, and then I'll catch up with everybody. What's up, DJ Green? DJ Green, Jarvis pulled out. Yep, emergency surgery. Money Meach, you're boxing fan. What's cooking? Who wants to eat? Hit the like button. Yeah, let's get those likes up. DJ Green, it was an emergency when they looked at his fight tape. Ain't that the truth? Adu, who did customs? How did customs let me in? Dude, bro, I got some stories. Customs shouldn't have let me in. You know what I'm saying? I'll tell you a crazy story. I got a lot of these crazy stories, man. So in 2013, when I was, moving to Australia, at least in 2013, if you were an American and you had a DUI on your record, you weren't even allowed to apply for residency. I didn't get a DUI, but I was close. Cut creator, I normally take your advice, but dude, boys, nobody's perfect. Thank you, cut creator, for not taking my advice, because I shit the bed on that. Dude, you guys should have been hesitant when I told you that I was betting against my favorite fighter. Yeah, don't take my advice if you don't want to. I'm cool with it. Blue collar, man, I had to give up on Gary. What happened, Blue? Daniel Vega, how confident are you in Dana White picks? Vega, I'm confident on one pick. Vega, go to the Discord, Daniel. Sal's blog talk. What's up, big fella? DJ Green, I'm debating Wilson by knockout. Same. Okay, so now I've caught up. DJ Green, let's open that up. So DJ says I'm debating Wilson by knockout, but he just looks kind of beat down from previous fights. Yeah, call it for what you will. I'm not going to quite categorize Liam Wilson how I categorize Sergey Bohacek, but there are certain things about when I watch Bohacek. I told you guys all, whoever wanted to listen, that when you watch Bohacek walking, when you watch him talking, when you watch him giving interviews, when you look at the eyes, the glossiness, I was like, Bohacek is showing signs of his style, and I'm going to be respectful. You guys know what that translates to. Liam Wilson, mate, similar. I'm not saying he's quite as sort of in the Bohacek sort of category, but he's definitely not. I think watching his lead hook, watching him not being able to cut the ring off, watching him struggle, watching him get frustrated in his last fight. Now, granted, the Argentinian fighter, and I apologize for not remembering his name. I featured him on the channel, and I could easily look up Liam's last fight, but I'm trying to remember it. So if you notice on these live streams, I like challenging my memory and my mind to stay sharp, and I know who he fought. Jimenez? Was it Jimenez? Was his last name Jimenez? Wilson, I just think we might have underrated Jimenez. Great feat. Wilson been punch drunk for a while now. Yeah, I don't know if it's punchy, but I don't think he ever psychologically recovered from what happened against Navarrete. It's tough to come back from that. And then obviously the low fight IQ decision making against Valdez as well, because it's like, what are you doing, bro? But, we can't judge people. I remember Ed Budson. I remember when Liam Wilson's lead hook. Yes, this is what I'm talking about. Liam Wilson's lead hook. But Budson, his lead hook is dangerous on the domestic level. He brought it to Mexico, though. He dropped Navarrete with it. It's just that he's not. You know what happens, Ed, with a fighter? When you get stopped, when you start getting stopped, you then start questioning your ability to do what you did to get you there. You know what I'm saying? What got Liam to the point of even getting the Navarrete fight was that ability to be durable, was that ability to punch with his opponents and land that hook. And then you get stopped against Navarrete, you get stopped against Valdez. He had a fight. Didn't he have a tough? I think he had a tough fight with Yui Dib. They fought twice. I thought my boy Jackson John England watched that fight. So there's a kid out of Perth nobody talks about. He's ranked in the top, I think, 40 in the world at 130 pounds. Jackson John England, tough fight. I think Jackson's only losses were to a really tough Aussie, Paul Fleming, and I think Jackson lost to Liam in a close decision. Jackson's a hell of a goddamn fighter. Jackson's best win was beating Jamel Herring, a former world champion. No one's really putting their hand up to fight Jackson. He's struggling to get fights internationally. I feel Jackson John England is one or two viral moments away from getting a huge fight. Great body work, always in shape, marketable, wise kid, comes from a family of tent fighters. Do you guys know international Americans? There's a thing back in the day in Australia called tent fighters. So basically travelers, bare knuckle boxers who would fight at festivals and carnivals. Jackson John England's grandpa was this guy. So anyway, we could go on and on. What's the Contender Series pick? You got to join the Discord for that, bad boy. Who got Reese Bellotti versus Josh Padley? I got Padley. Reese Bellotti. Gary and I got in a debate about Reese versus Ryan Gardner. I told you guys, man, Ryan Gardner, I was right on that. I think I'm going to be right on this. I think Josh Padley, more than anything, when you... Do you guys know the term of, like, the shine? Like, getting the championship brush or getting the championship shine. You usually see this. You can see it in the NBA. Sometimes it takes guys a couple seasons to get the shine or the brush. Some guys never get it at all. You see it in the UFC, meaning that, like, it took Jordan a few years to get, the Jordan rules, the years against Detroit when, the bad boy Pistons, and the series against, he would lose, and then he was losing until he didn't lose. And then he started winning, and then he never lost. And so you see this with, younger MMA fighters who maybe get rushed too quick. They fight for a big fight, they lose, and then they, go on a streak. Think about what Josh Van is doing after Van lost to Charles Johnson. So my thing about Padley is that brush that he got from Stevenson, Shakur. I want to see more Josh Padley. And at this stage of the game, I think Josh Padley is skilled. I think he should look. I think Josh should look great against Reese. Join that Discord. Ed Bunsen, Jackson John England's pretty solid. Yeah, Ed, if you go to my interviews on my channel, you'll see I've been interviewing John for a couple years now. Christian, you having a great day too, brother. Stay safe. Guys, we're about 17 minutes in. Let's thumbs up this video. Vic in the house. PJ, so is Paulo Acuso a lock since his opponent changed? I hate saying locks. I don't like using the word lock. But I'm waiting for BoxRec to post the late replacement is a really tough fight. It's not, I always want to say Skinny Hussein, but Skinny Hussein was Billy Dibb's coach. Skinny was a good pro, and his brother Hussey Hussein, hell of a pro. Is it Ben Hussein? I think it's Ben Hussein, but they're not related. Boys, go to your BoxRec and type in Ben Hussein. Ben Hussein's a dog, man. Doesn't have a perfect record. I'm pretty sure he put his hand up to fight Acuso, and yeah, I don't know if they made it official yet. This is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing Benjamin Hussein is going to fight Acuso, and he's undersized, and he's a dog. He's undersized for his division, but he beat Mason Smith, Muzadir. His losses are to Lachlan Higgins and Ben Mahoney. And Ben Mahoney, tough pro. Ben Mahoney is another one of these domestic Aussie guys. He was an MMA fighter, I think, or a kickboxer who's a boxer now. Ben Mahoney was supposed to have a big fight. There's a lot of these guys floating around Australia who are just waiting for an opportunity to put their hand up to be seen on our one pay-per-view stream, which is No Limit Promotions. And Ben Hussein has been begging for a big fight for a few years. And I'm hearing that he's fighting Paulo Acuso. I don't know if Hussein was in camp. It looks like he was in camp because he has a fight scheduled October 4th. So, Ben Hussein's tough. I want to see if this is official. Are you guys getting any news that Ben Hussein is the late replacement for Paulo Acuso? Let me know what you guys are finding. I just had my boys messaging me. Now, if that's the case, if Hussein is taking on Acuso last-minute replacement, he has a tough style for Acuso without a camp. Acuso's green. Hussein is a dog. He's hungry. He's going to be a little bit undersized. I'm waiting to see the odds, and I'm waiting to see if it's official. If I'm getting Hussein at plus money, it's going to be worth sprinkling, 100%. Just everything, if you know who that kid is. This kid fought through a broken jaw before. I know a lot of fighters do that. Jaya Pataya famously fighting through a broken jaw. What's up, little lady Latina tapping in? Ed Butson says, yeah, I didn't know about Josh Pally and put money on Mark, and he cost my parlay. Yeah, whenever you guys are putting money on guys, do your research or ask questions. And this is why the Discord's good. Every morning, I woke up and people, John, tagging me in the Discord. And, dude, the Discord's over 220 savages now who are boxing minds. So before you put your money on a parlay, ask somebody. PJ says, I think Akuso should pull it off. He has a good record and a good knock. But the issue, PJ, is we don't know who his opponent is. And if his opponent is Benjamin Hussein, I mean, you just can't throw Hussein away like that. Akuso is supposed to be. There's hype on Akuso domestically here. Are you guys getting official? What's the official card for Gabby Fundora? Because I can't find it on BoxRec. Yeah, it says it's in India. So it is on the Golden Boy card. It's supposed to be against Alexis Kubicki, part of the Golden Boy card. That fight, why isn't it on BoxRec? Yeah, Oscar. So my BoxRec doesn't even have her on it. It's on the. She's on the Oscar Collazo card, but I'm not seeing her on here. I wonder why that is. What are your? I wanted to ask you guys again. Darren Gara-Trahala versus Lachlan O'Shea. That's a nice little fight with some decent odds. I'm taking. I told you guys about Darren Gara. I've been aware of Darren Gara since he was 16 years old. I think he's 22, 23 now. Lachlan O'Shea is a Queensland boy, so he is coming in as the A side. There is money coming in on Darren Gara. At the beginning of the week, it was a 50-50 fight. So now the odds have shifted in Darren Gara's favor. I hit with a couple of bets off of the Discord. Well worth the investment. Yeah, the investment in the live betting. You boys on the boys in the Discord, I forget, boxing fan. Who in our Discord is like the king of the live betting? There's one guy or two guys I always notice during the fights, man. He always hits when it's live betting. And so that's who, because live betting is not really my forte either. Jason Jr., Jersey, Duval. Yo, Big Johnny in the house. Appreciate you, Jersey, Duval. I hit with a couple bets off the Discord. So we're about 23 minutes into the chat. We got Australia happening tomorrow night. We got the Golden Boy card with Fundora and Collazo. If you guys are unfamiliar with Oscar Collazo, he fights at minimum weight. One of the best fighters. So watch his tape. Watch how he operates. He's a fun guy. The odds aren't that good, though. The odds are shit. So let's see if we're getting method of victory. No, right now, as we get closer to the weekend, I'm going to give you my prediction on Collazo if we do either a stoppage or a points. King Ty, what's good? We could talk about the Dana White Contender Series real quick. So I'm just going to scroll through the odds of the contenders. I'll answer these questions real quick. Goat stays on top. Chilltown is solid. I talk to Chilltown pretty much every day. I talked to him earlier today, actually, boxing fan. Chilltown's traveling right now at the moment. Ed Bunsen, I think Collazo is the best. 100%, man. And nobody throws Collazo's name out there. You know what? It's kind of like El Finito. El Finito. People always talk about the best Mexican fighters, but they always forget about to talk about El Finito, Ricardo Lopez, because El Finito is a minimum weight. I think he retired at, 49-0 or 50? What was El Finito's final record? 50-0? Yeah, Ricardo Lopez retired. He was 51-0 with 38 knockouts. And people always talk about the best Mexican fighters in the world ever. People forget about El Finito. 51-0, 38 knockouts, fighting at like 105, 108 pounds. Insane. So that's it's just a division that gets no respect, for whatever reason. I understand, but some of the if you like action, if you like technique, if you like volume, if you like firefights, those are some of my favorite fights. I mean, the minimum weights make Naoya Inoue's division look huge. You know what I'm saying? So we just saw Inoue fight MJ, and that was just a testament how good Naoya Inoue is when he makes a fighter as aggressive as MJ fighting so negatively. Like that was we streamed that fight. We were hats off to the Discord once again. I was only able to watch MJ fight this weekend in Japan because of the Discord. Top Rank live streamed the feed on Facebook, but not to Australian or New Zealand subscribers. So it was because of the Discord. One of the boys in the Discord shared the screen, and so we were all watching it. But when you watch Inoue versus MJ, it's another testament how good and how much power Inoue has when he made an aggressive MJ fight that sort of cautiously and just be comfortable with losing a wide decision. I couldn't find one round to give to MJ, but my point is when you watch the minimum weights, Oscar Collazo, they're tiny. They make the 122 guys look like heavyweights, but it's still boxing, and it's technical boxing, and it's firefights, and it's volume, and it's reaction, and it's speed. It's insane. It's insane. You really see. I feel like the lower weight classes are kind of like the epitome of human athleticism. If you want to like bottle up what human athleticism is at its most sort of like highest version in terms of, I'm talking like speed, reflexes, decision making. Holy shit. You watch Collazo this weekend. You'll know what I'm talking about. Fandora gonna whip her, of course. PJ, Khalil Covers, Jess Hart. Who you got? Is that fight going down? Look, I like Jesse Hart, another one of these personalities, great for boxing. But after watching Khalil Co get his get back in Mexico, I'm not betting against him. Khalil Co impressed me. Now, once again, we do have to ask ourselves, what version will we see a consistent Khalil Co moving forward? Because the version that we saw, mate, in Mexico in the rematch, when he got his get back and he looked amazing, looked impressive. El Finito is crazy underrated, 100. I thought MJ was going to do better. Anyway, keeps impressing me, 100, Ed. You know what had to happen, Ed, is I bet you because Inoue fought the most technical, risk-adverse fight I've seen him fight in a long time. At least in his last 5 fights. This was and I'm not using the word cautious, but risk-adverse. There's a difference between being a cautious boxer and a risk-adverse boxer. And this was the cleanest version of Inoue I've seen. I've seen some of the YouTube content creators shade the performance. I thought it was masterful. Didn't take any damage. Didn't put himself in harm's way. Didn't put himself in unwarranted harm's way. Those firefight exchanges that we saw him against Cardenas, that we saw him against Luis Neri, that he's become famous for. What I saw was a guy fighting in Japan who knew Junto Nakatani was ringside, because that's the big fight everybody wants to see. And I also saw a guy in Inoue who read the naysayers' comments, per se, saying that he's, his defense, that's a hole in his game. His defense, he's susceptible to getting hit. So in the performance I saw, beautiful game plan execution, hats off to his team. I saw an Inoue that wanted to prove a point, that said, yeah, I'm a dog. I can win firefights. I'm a knockout artist, but I can also outbox you. I can also neutralize a big puncher. I can also stand toe-to-toe with a guy like MJ, who we all know what MJ wants to do, and I can make MJ fight negatively. I thought that was a statement. I thought Inoue's performance against MJ was a statement to Nakatani and to, I guess he's going to fight, who's the young Mexican kid? There's so many names, man. That was the rumor. He's supposed to fight. I'm sure come on, chat. I'm sure the chat will tell me. I'm not turning into the computer. Mar says, do Australian bettors usually get offered OT? No. Great question, Mar. I never see. We don't get the OTX, at least on my betting options. I never get maybe if I do bet 365. Yomar Alamo fought Shakur. Wasn't Yomar was Yomar a former world champion? Was he ever was Yomar a full world champion? I think he was. I never miss a boxing match on this planet. The Discord pops. Scobie? I didn't know Scobie was fighting this weekend. Coach jab looked like Crawford's. Edwin De Los Santos, it looked like a straight up shotgun. Coach just looked so sharp in his last fight, mate. I was impressed. Bet against him, got burned. When you drop the long parlay, PJ. I'm gonna drop that. It's only Wednesday here. I have to wait, PJ, to give you the long parlay because I need to wait to see the adjustments on the betting apps with all the replacement fights for Australia. So we still have about 36 hours until the Australia card. So give me another 24 hours. Do you like Yelisinov? I have to do more tape, FX. I have to do more tape. It's a name that has been thrown to me. I know who Danivar Yelisinov is. I just have to do more tape. Ed Butson. Yes, Picasso. There. Chat. I hate it. Thank you. Picasso. Now it's here. I know who he is too, Alan, but we've covered him on the channel. That jab was something. Inoue literally cleared 122. His only opponent now is Junto. At 22, Junto, we already know that, he made the announcement. I don't know if the sanctioning bodies officially... Did the sanctioning bodies officially make any moves on Junto's belts at 18? Because he said he's going to 22. I can't wait to see that fight. I can't wait to see Junto versus Inoue at 22. And the me being selfish, I kind of wanted to see Bam versus Junto at 18. I'm sorry. I mean, Bam's 25 now. Junto. So you got Bam. I think he's 25 years old, going to be 26. You got Junto. Is Junto 28, 29, 27, somewhere in there? It's all off the top of my head. And Inoue's 31. I misspoke last week. I thought Inoue was a couple years older. Inoue's only 31. The selfish fan in me wanted to actually to see Bam fight Junto at 18 first, but I know, it's the weight classes, and I don't put too much credence in 3 to 4 pounds. You know what I'm saying? Boxing fan, all right, I'm gonna do the buy me the coffee thing. I'm learning about this. So boxing fan, thank you for the super chat. I'm learning that this is something that I could do as a link. The morning coffee. Boxing fan, you're a real one, man. I appreciate you. I think Colazzo can knock out Vason. I think I think we're eye to eye on that, Blue Collar. Yeah, Blue Collar, DJ Green, the boys. You know why? I really like... give me 1 second. I'm pulling it up. Yeah, I'm not getting odds on it, but that's why... what I think I'm going to do is be a little bit more disciplined in the amount of fights I bet on this week. I'm going to give the YouTube boys the long parlay, but just sprinkle. But where I'm learning, we're all learning. Where I made my most money last week was just doing the heavy singular bet. Now, obviously, I did the heaviest bet I lost with Canelo. But then I cut that loss in half, and I wasn't chasing because I had put the bet in earlier in the week when I told you guys to take Raiko Santana. So I got Raiko. I put not as heavy as Canelo, but for me, I took Raiko on the money line when we hit, and then we hit in Japan because I told you that Takai was going to lose. So I actually was up. I came out last week and up. And I think I'm going to do that. And where I've got burned in the past before is when I've taken like 4. So last 2 weeks ago, I actually went heavy on my Johnny locks, which were like 4 like $1.17s. And I think it came out to like $1.70. And then you put a couple hundred on that. And then like $1.17. What keeps happening with those $1.17s, like Patty Donovan, for instance, loses. Or Yenis Tellez loses. Or the draw keeps happening. So what I'm going to do, I think, moving forward, is even when I give you my locks, I'm not going to go heavy on those anymore because there are no locks. I think I'm going to go heavy on like a method of victory, like X fighter for the knockout, like when Josh Kelly knocked out Fabio Bea. I always bring that up because for my timeline of being a bettor, because like, and sharing the bets with my YouTube channel. It was the Josh Kelly, Fabio Bea was the first time I went heavy on a prop bet as a bettor. Because usually I'm just the money line guy and I'm doing it for entertainment purposes. I'm not betting to get rich. I'm not trying to steal money from the banks. But that Kelly fight was the first time where I was like, oh shit. I only have to focus on one fight and I could go heavy on it. It's still stressful. But then I could put film study on and really focus on just one outcome and really focus on the stylistic matchup and just focus on that. And I've noticed that, I think that'll be an adjustment I make this week, and I'll let you guys know. Per her Instagram, looks like Sky will have a quick turnaround. Hope it's similar matchmaking to her recent fights. Nicholson by stoppage has been easy money. Locks only come through when you bet light, 100%. DJ, I'm thinking about going heavy on distance. Same, DJ. This was 100%. And DJ, I shared that pic on my Instagram right now. And what we got to do, if we're making this decision to go heavy on Liam by decision, because, guys, his opponent, David Papot, here's the thing, and it's a good point. We got to talk about this. So I'm like 75% sure I'm going to bet the house on Liam by decision, and here's why. Because Liam is his first, and you guys know this, it's his first fight at 147. Liam's coming up from 40. You got David Papot, not only has taken fights before at 160 pounds, but he's also never lost. Now, disregard the domestic French record. He's fought once out of France, and he drew. And that's when he fought Buddy McGirt's son in the U.S. in 2019. So David Papot's only blemish was a draw in 2019 in America against Buddy McGirt's son. And ironically, that was the last time McGirt's son fought and he retired. So that being said, Paro is fighting an undefeated mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, so when you're fighting a guy who has an undefeated mind, who's never lost, this is an IBF title eliminator. If Lewis Crockett and Patty Donovan if they don't do a trilogy, which they actually might, considering both fights kind of ended with a lot of controversy. We know that Lewis Crockett is a full world champion at 147. Hats off to him, man. Who would have thought? Crazy. What is he, 22-0 now? But the IBF, this is an IBF eliminator, and it's one of the reasons why Liam Paro, I don't know if you guys know this, I brought it up in my Stats Don't Lie video last night. Liam Paro was offered a fight at 140 against Landolfo Delgado. And that fight against Landolfo Delgado was going to be the winner would then fight Richardson Hitchens. So that seemed like that would have been a perfect move for Liam because it would have given him an opportunity to get his get back. And it wasn't like he got blown out the water against Hitchens. He lost a split decision. One judge gave Liam 117, 111, and the other two gave 116 and 112, and I think maybe 115, 113 off the top of my head. But it's not like he got blown out the water like George did. So some people were like in my network that I text message with were like, why would Liam say no to the Landolfo Delgado fight? Landolfo Delgado, great fighter. We covered Delgado versus Elvis Rodriguez on the channel. Great fighter. Fun fighter. Crafty. And what came to be is that allegedly Liam Paro's last two weight cuts, even against Navarro, Hitchens, and Matias, allegedly Paro was like, during his weight cuts, he was like hallucinating, like almost like on the verge of having to be hospitalized. And so this was one of the major reasons why he left 40 to go to 47. So this is why I'm really interested to see what he looks like at 47. And this is another reason why I'm like, shit, it's his first fight at 47. It's a title eliminator. He's fighting a guy who used to fight at 160 who's never lost. This guy, David Papot, is 34, now or never. We know the Frenchies. When you look at how the Frenchies fight, the white Frenchies, not the Montreal, Quebec, Christian Mabili Frenchies, because those are African Frenchies. And I'm being as, you know what I'm saying. This isn't Bruno Sirache. This is Bruno Sirache French. This isn't Christian Mabili French, okay? Their style, this modern era of French fighters, they fight off the back foot and they just want to tap. They're not turning, they're not sitting, they're tapping, and this is why you get records like 30 wins, 0 losses, and 5 knockouts. Or Sirache, I think, was 26 Wasn't Sriracha like 26-0 with one knockout against Munguia, and then he knocked Munguia out? So that can happen. But when you look at how he fights and how Liam Paro fights, and you mix it, I think I'm loving the decision. I'm loving the fight to go the distance. Liam is sharp. The backhand's beautiful. It is southpaw versus southpaw. Keep that in mind as well. So you're gonna have a guy in Papo that I feel is gonna be hard to hit for the first quarter of the fight. He's gonna use the whole ring, and Matias wasn't a mover. Hitchens. So I feel the movement in Jonathan Navarro was far from a mover. Brock Jarvis was not a mover. Montana Love thought he was going to bulldog Liam. So my point is, I do think that David Papot's movement is going to be an interesting puzzle for Liam to solve. And I think he's going to do enough to win, but I don't know if he's going to do it. I don't see him stopping him. That's just where I sit with that. We'll see. We'll see if I change my mind. I know I'm going to take shit for my last take. So, look, I'm not. I'm reading these comments. I said some shit, didn't I? What did I say? Liam can crack. He's a good finisher. Paulo Cuso, lock Thursday. We'll get to that. Papot has solid footwork. I think that's going to take him far. Yep. DJ Green, on God. Dissing the white French fighter. Papot will give Paro the stretch. Dissing the white French fighter. I think I was waiting for it. You know what this goes back to, though? This goes back to my beef. Adu, you've been on the channel long enough. You know about my beef with French fighters. And this goes past boxing and MMA. This is related. The French white fighter thing, for me, personally, I'm not trying to make this a narrative in the boxing world, but this goes back to when I was shooting a documentary in 2019 about Lethwei. I don't know if you remember that. So Lethwei is an ancient bare knuckle. It's basically Muay Thai, bare knuckle Muay Thai, where the headbutt is legal, and it's out of Myanmar. And I did a documentary. I followed the world champion David Leduc around for like 2 years. We went to Hollywood, LA. We went to Cyprus. We went to Myanmar, Burma. But anyway, my film team were these young French white kids. Anyway, that's a personal story. I talk about it every now and then. Sriracha had like 2 knockouts. That's right. DJ Green. Turkey. Who is closest to being pound for pound out of Teo, Haney, Apataya, Boots, Fulton, Verge, Ruff, Bakram? I would say Ruff. Of that, Boots, that's a pretty close list, actually. Apataya, people are going to shade him because nobody, that division isn't a household division. Teo and Haney, we know what they bring, man. They're still young. Fulton, I don't know. I wouldn't put Fulton. I put Fulton at the bottom of the list. I definitely would put Boots and Rafa Espinoza at the top of the list. Virgil is closer to the top than he is to the bottom. Murtazaev, I'm not sold on. I'm sorry. I need to see more of Bakram Murtazaev. People say he's the boogeyman. I'm not sold on it. I think Murtazaev is food for guys at 54. I think his style is tailor-made for a lot of guys at 54. This is going to sound real crazy. You guys know Abbas Barao was just elevated, right? So Abbas Barao, because the belt, he was the guy who just beat Yenis Tellez. And Barao is a full WBA world champion now at 154. You didn't even, I think watching that style, Barao, and his energy he fought with, mate, he gets past Murder. I can't honestly say that I would take Murtazaev to beat Barao. I like Rafa Espinoza, in my opinion, is the best fighter, is my favorite fighter at 26. Rafa, mate, I want to see Rafa fight some big household names. In a perfect world, let's say whoever wins versus Inoue, what if Junto beats Inoue at 22? He might be a little bit too small for Rafa. Rafa's 6'1". I think Rafa, Bruce Carrington, because he has a big name. Carrington versus Espinoza. We'll see. Wilson going to get the knockout for sure. It looks like his opponent is tailor-made for that. David, you're cooked, DJ. They figured out you're a winning better or a smart better. I've noticed to get around that. If you have an A+ money pick parlay with an A- bet with parlays, they'll let you bet more. David, always dropping knowledge. Ranvar, the only good French fighters are the ones that are adopted from different countries. Look at Nasruddin Mamamov. Yeah, Dagestani. Damn Lucia. I know, David. I'm not reading those comments. I actually have a theory about... I actually have a theory, David, about what's going on with those comments. Turkey Al-Sheik, good answer. DJ Green. David, it's so dumb, too. They found out I'd be hitting. No, I think... I'll tell you guys... I think Murtazalev's only and biggest strength is he's big. Reminds me of Jarrett Hurd. Yep. Haney may low-key be closest depending on how you take the Garcia fight. If he beats Norman... Dude, if Devin Haney beats Brian Norman, I'm going to be impressed. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not saying... I'm a pretty... I defend Devin Haney just based off of the love of the game. I defend Devin Haney on a lot of things. His devotion to the game, how he, watching him grow from a little kid, he's his father's son sort of thing, watching him win titles. But it's hard to keep defending Devin Haney. And I think it was Paulie. It was somebody online. It might have been Paulie that was, or it might have been Algieri. It might have been Chris. It's not Haney's skills that have diminished. He's still sharper than ever. You got to see that in flashes against Ramirez. Some of those combos Devin was landing, he'd be and he would just slide out the way. That's not what I'm saying. That's not why I question him. It's the psychological way he was fighting against Ramirez that you could see. You could see how he was sliding out the way. There's a certain way to exit the pocket as a fighter if you're doing it confidently and you're trying to walk your opponent onto something, or if you're just trying to find an angle, right? And then there's another way to exit the pocket if you're doing it and you look worried and you look a bit stressed. And if you are doing it and you look a bit stressed, that's a psychological thing. See, that's where I'm worried about Haney. And I think it was Algieri who said it's really tough to reverse that once it happens. I don't like the way he looked. Like, watch the Ramirez fight. Disregard how much he moved and focus on, watch the Ramirez fight, pay attention to this, focus on the exchanges. There weren't a lot of them, but there's enough to see what I'm talking about. I was watching this the other day, and if YouTube didn't have copyright strikes, I would make a compilation to show you. But it's how he would exit and use the ring. It's what he looked like when he would do it, was how he was doing it. He wasn't doing it like how Bud was doing it against Canelo. Bud was using the ring, but Bud was still exiting and he was hunting. You could still hunt off your back foot. You know what I'm saying? You could still hunt and fire and catch and counter off the back foot. And then there's a thing, when you're exiting and you're not hunting and you look like the hunter or you look like the hunted. That's a psychological thing, and that's what I saw against Ramirez. And if he does that against Haney, or if he does that against Norman, he's going to get stopped. He's going to get stopped if he does that against Norman. Because Norman's fast. Norman's way better feet than people think he does. I think just Norman, because he could crack, they think he's just a puncher. I might side with Rafa against Inoue. Rafa's one of my favorite fighters, man. Rafa's in my top 10 pound for pound. Jason, Jersey, Duval, bro, loves you. Come on, man. It's hard for me to take compliments. Adu, real talk. Will you have say in the poll question of the day on Gary's channel? Do you want me to do a question on the channel? Because Adu, the live stream is going to be on my channel too. So in less than 2 hours, I'm going live. It's marketed on Gary's channel, but you guys can watch it on my channel too. So what's the question? Do you want me to ask a question? Mar, with the style anyway showcase against MJ, did it heighten your confidence of him being able to scale it? Yes. Mar the Prince, 100%. Not to 130, but at least to 126. With the style anyway showcase against MJ, did it heighten your confidence of him being able to scale to 126 and or 30? Him and Rafa Erbal would be fun. Definitely 126. 130, man. I don't know, maybe. It's hard for me to look past 26 because I don't have any evidence. And that's just more how my mind works. So like when I say it's hard for me to look to 130, it's not like me thinking. It's just my mind stops at 26 because I need evidence first. It definitely did. Why? Because it showed us, and I told you guys this before the fight, and you guys know this. Anyway, I don't think there's a perfect boxer ever existed, but he does a lot of things perfectly. You know, nobody's perfect, but he does a lot of things perfectly. And watching him do that to MJ, guys, MJ was a guy that in every boxing form for the last few years, and we're saying this is going to be the guy. He was supposed to be the guy. And it's weird people were like disregarding this performance. Anyway, won every single round. That was a masterful performance. Part of it is overshadowed because of Bud versus Canelo. Another thing because Top Rank is shit. MJ's hand, or anyway, that fight should have been broadcasted to the world. It definitely heightened my confidence in him at 26, man. Look what he did. He could have boxed MJ like that for 30 rounds. Haney's jaw needs defense. Ranvar, I say Jai is the closest thing to pound for pound. Call me crazy, but I'm saying he beats Usyk for a while. I'd love to see him fight Usyk. His footwork and elusiveness is fresher than Usyk's, plus Jai is tough as nails. Yeah, it's, Usyk's what, 38 now? 38 years old? You know what fight I want to see, guys, off the topic that nobody's talking about? I want to see Justice Hooney fight Moses Ituama. What do you guys think of that matchup? If I had a genie, and it sounds kind of obscure to the casual, but if somebody was like, hey, Johnny, of all the fighters right now who are active, here's a genie, you get to pick 3 fights. Probably one of the first fights I would pick is Moses Ituama versus Justice Hooney. Because I want to see, we would be able to learn a lot about both guys, and I think people have thrown Justice away because of the knockout loss to Wardley. But man, if you watch Justice Hooney, that fight against Wardley, and you didn't leave that fight thinking like, holy shit, Justice is a great boxer, and you left the fight, wow, he's chinny. I left the fight blown away with Justice Hooney's performance. I want to see if Moses Ituama could handle that style.